Hey everybody, just look how good that bike looks right now. Yes, thanks to Triumph UK, I've had this Triumph Scrambler 1200 XC on loan for a few days. I've got quite a few more days to come. Today's video is going to be going into some country roads and just sort of seeing what this bike is like to ride in the country road. This is actually the second time I've done this today, I'll be honest with you. I had an audio recorder fail, so rather than me learning as I go through the roads, I can tell you more what it's actually like, because I've actually ridden a decent amount of miles on it today doing exactly this, so I can show you at the same time. Maybe it'll work out being a better video. I hate having to redo things, but the sun, as you can see, is beautiful, and this isn't set to last, and I really wanted to do country roads on dry roads. So what I was trying to work out this morning was kind of, what is this bike all about? What is its strengths? What's it for? To me, it kind of seems like it's a Tiger 1200 without any of the fairings. And that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, because the Tiger 1200 is a very nice bike. But one of the advantages I found over having, not having all that extra bodywork is that the handling on it just feels much smaller bike-like. Like, it is a 230 kilo bike, no question about it, But it doesn't mean that it feels horrible. Look, just... Because this bike kind of just looks like a giant dirt bike, and kind of is, because it doesn't have an enormous tank on it, and I certainly have noticed you can get through half a tank pretty quickly, especially if you're being a little bit vigorous with the throttle, shall we say. But it says I'm getting about 51 miles to the gallon, which is perfectly in line with virtually everything I seem to ride lately. This always seems to work out that way. Because it doesn't have the fairing like the Tiger, it seems like, well, this maybe isn't aimed as an adventure bike, even though physically it's capable of doing it. So it's kind of like a naked tourer in some ways, and in other ways it's like a whacking great big dirt bike, and I've seen people doing some pretty damned impressive stuff on something that weighs 230 kilos. But anyway, that's not the point. My point was, what's it like to ride in the corners? And the surprising thing is, even with a 21-inch wheel, it doesn't feel particularly heavy, it's maneuverable, it's got great grunt, and the assisted clutch is absolutely awesome, because you can just dump it down through the gears as you come into a corner. It's not going to lock the rear wheel, and it really does smooth things out. It's fantastic. And that's what I discovered this morning. I mean, maybe I'm actually enjoying this a little bit more now because I'm a bit more used to it. I had to learn this morning, and now I know how it feels. There's a little bit more traffic around now, unfortunately, so I have to be a bit careful. But, this doesn't... It really doesn't feel like a big bike like it is. And as I've said before in previous videos, it is a long boy. It's a pretty long bike, and with a 21-inch front wheel, you can just... it's not going to lock. It is... it is very much a lot of fun. And that is an interesting combination, that it's off-road capable, but it's also motorway capable, but it also doesn't feel too massive for its size, which, if you're a long-term watcher of mine, you're probably thinking, that sounds very much up your street. That sounds like that one bike ideal that you've been talking about, and it really is. The only thing that I'm not so sure about is how well this Insta360 camera is doing. I've just noticed I was sideways then. It's just the only thing I'm not entirely sure about is the displacement. I don't really need a 1200. But then it doesn't really feel like it, like an over 1,000, because it's the... Oh my god, this camera is having serious issues right now. I think I'm going to pull over here for a second. Okay, I've just reset the gyros on that. Hopefully it's okay. If it's not, it'll be just with this camera. I'm sorry. I currently have this in road mode, which is like one below sports mode. The reason why I've got it in this mode is because in sports mode, it is It's a little snappier in its throttle and stuff, which is something that some people might actually want. But for me, I prefer the slightly, not dulled, but just softened throttle response of this road mode. So I mean, this does not feel like a 230 kilo, 1200cc big bike. It's no harder to ride than pretty much any supermoto. And the reason I say supermoto, you know, I'm getting close to sort of supermotos and dual sports. Well, I'm now blind. The reason I'm making comparisons with sort of, you know, supermotos and dual sports is because it's very much like an oversized one, and it rides like one, and it feels like one. But the big advantage it has over a lot of the other ones, you know, that normally have smaller engines, is it can really do miles. See, this is what I'm talking about with peaked helmets. Can you see how I've got a shadow over my eyes using the peak? People tell me that they're absolutely useless and shouldn't use them on the road, and I should get rid of such a stupid looking helmet. Well, it has benefits, my friends, it has benefits. Yeah, there's that slipper clutch again. Once you're used to it anyway, you don't really notice the fact that it's got a 21-inch front wheel. The tyres feel good. It can go off-road. It's very comfortable on a motorway apart from the wind. And in the country roads, it's actually a good laugh. Like, it's good. I've never known a bike of this sort of weight hide it as well, I think. Other than maybe an electric where it's so low down. Oh, by the way, this has got an anti-stall feature on it, so if you don't touch the throttle and just use the clutch, it raises the revs so it doesn't stall. I don't know how good it's actually at doing that. Oh my god, the bike's pulling away on its own. I mean, I know, you know, my XJ6 will ride with your hand off the clutch in first, and it will pull away doing that, but that was like, you don't even have to use the throttle to pull away. I'm going to have to experiment with that more. Like, I suspect if you dump the clutch, it's going to stall the engine rather than giving you a ton of power out of nowhere. Oh, it's great. As you get around the corner, you can really sort of feel the back end of the bike just plumb. That tyre is stuck there, and the front turns, and you can really feel it sort of pulling around. Very, very manoeuvrable, very predictable, and it's interesting that it doesn't feel overly light or anything like that. They've got the rake and the feel and the weight of the suspension with everything, in my mind, for the road anyway, perfect. It's still got some light, so let's go down here. See, I can just dump down the box, no worry about the rear wheel locking up. I also find myself blip shifting, which is absolutely unnecessary with this sort of clutch, but it does still seem to feel better. Oh, it's death on a stick. Thank you, my man. Oh, it's going to be dark going back this way, but then we'll go back into the light. But can you see what I mean about how sort of just effortless and light this bike is to ride? I'm not riding it like it's a big old bike with loads of weight around it. It's fun. It's good. It's scary because I really want one. Well, I don't know. As I say, it's a 1200. It might still be a bit big for me, but it gives me hope that there is a one bike solution. And the only reason I say it's a bit big is not because you can't use the engine, because you can. I'm just talking about the costs of having something with this size of an engine and its fuel consumption. Because the way that I will end up riding it, it will just all that fuel up. I am truly blind now. The visor is going to save my butt. Oh God, what have they been doing? This was a poor choice. This is the thing, this bike is arcing back to the bikes of yesteryear that were just bikes that you did pretty much anything you wanted with. And it's actually got that kind of an ability, with reasonably good off-road as well, which is obviously not a core intent of the old bikes. They just made it do it. And of course, it's no surprise that it does not care for hills. Goodbye, hill. Okay, well hopefully I've shown and covered what I kind of learned from this morning and what I wanted to get across, which was I was trying to work out where this bike is in the market. Is it like an adventure bike? Well, yes, in ways, but in other ways it's not, because it hasn't got the fairing and the wind is going to be a bit much. Plus it hasn't got a ginormous tank, so you're not going to get mega ranges. Okay, so is it just like a road bike? Well, no, because it's super capable off-road, a lot more capable with some slightly better riders on it than me. But I've seen very impressive stuff done with this bike off-road. So okay, so it is an off-road bike, and it can be a touring bike. But then again, as an off-road bike, 230 kilos is again a pretty big thing, and a 1200 is quite a lot. But in some of the stuff that you're going to be using it for, some sort of off-roading, cross-touring, adventuring, this could be perfect. It could be a commuter as well. You really could use it for that. I honestly think that this is just a motorcycle. Like the old school bikes, it is not necessarily an expert in any one area, but it's very good overall. Yes, you can take it off-road and you can have some fun on it. Yes, you can go long distance on it on the motorway and stuff like that. You just have to deal with the wind. You could go touring and things like that with it. Yes, you could commute with it. I can't see one thing that this bike isn't capable of. But the only thing that holds it back in any one area is the fact that it is so broadly aimed that it becomes a generalist and not a specialist. Although it has very much, the XE is very much more specialised into the off-road style of stuff, but it's also really good on the road. As you can see, this is why I'm having a bit of a crisis with this bike, because it actually does fit nearly all the categories for me for my perfect single bike. Plus, it looks like that. It's gorgeous. I mean, yes, as someone said, it looks like someone strapped a couple of blunderbusses to the side of it. Totally. Do these get hot? Yes. Is it that much of a problem? Not at all. In cold weather, is it nice? Totally. This is my third video on this bike, and obviously everything's going to get culminated at the end of the week into review, but this is why I do tests like this, to find out, is it good at that? Is it not good at that? This is stuff you can't find out in 2 hours or 3 hours of doing a quick review ride. You need to use it. And I doubled down today by messing up. But at least I still got the light. I got another ride in. And yeah, that was proper good fun. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. I would massively appreciate it, because it would help other people see it. Share it if you'd like to directly help on that front. Subscribe if you're new here, or if you're not new here and you have not subscribed, because I'm on my way to 100k. And it would be awesome to do that by Christmas, or my birthday in December. But yeah, it's probably not likely going to happen unless some big creators, go, hey, give me a shout out or something. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.